I'd never really understood why people wanted to get married, and as kind of time went on, I started to really get into the idea of being married to someone. You know, the thought of being somebody's missus was really nice. We first met when Ben was on his like tour scene, really, wasn't it? You were doing bands and...
Yeah, just gigging, really. But I don't think we, probably a couple of times that we met, we didn't really...
appreciate each other at all.
Or really know each other or stop to talk. You know, it's like back then with the music scene, you used to get a lot more people and the venues would be fairly packed. Not so much these days, so you just brush past people and just kept bumping into each other through gigs and shows and stuff.
And yeah, then about 4 years later, we kind of crossed paths again through a social networking site of all places, and we agreed to meet up, and it went from there, really. First words.
Hi, I'm Ben.
Yeah, probably like, nice to meet you.
Are you Nicola?
Shaking hands.
Yeah, I'd love to say it was something spectacular and romantic, but I think it was probably just making sure we were the right people.
Yeah.
Met in Reading. Very odd. We didn't really do anything, just wandered around the shops, and it was a bit, I don't know, it was a bit uncomfortable,
I think we
really.
arranged to meet up and go dancing in puddles with ice cream or something, and it didn't rain.
Oh yeah.
So we just ended up sitting at a bar having Coke or something.
Yeah,
so.
and then that was pretty much it, and that was kind of the first public
outing.
vetting.
I think what attracted me to Ben was the fact that he was tall, dark, handsome, and tattooed. I think. And he was funny. He was just a really nice guy. He was really genuine, and
which is funny you should say that, because I thought I was very awkward.
Well, yeah, the first time, our first date, you were.
I wasn't.
The ultimate cheesy line when we left. I'll call you.
Yeah, that kind of haunted me for years.
I really thought that was it. I thought he hadn't liked me.
That was an uncomfortable kind of. Do you kiss on the first date? What do? You're in a public place. I don't know. You didn't want to get it wrong, so it's better to just, I don't know, not do it than get it wrong.
And then thanks to the joys of mobile phones, you quickly send a text to say, I didn't really mean that.
And I think what I found attractive about you was long before I'd even met you, and that was just kind of your eclectic taste in things, and you made me laugh, obviously looks as well.
I mean, yeah, going way, way back, the first time we met each other, I didn't really think much of him. I thought he was cute, but his personality didn't really match up at that time. I think you were very much into your band and into your music. You were very focused, and
but I think
we were both in relationships. It was never going to happen. I don't think we really had love at first sight, really, did we? I think we had like at first sight, but I don't think when we first started seeing each other, really love was on our minds.
You have to find out if you like someone enough as a person before you kind of decide if it's kind of love at first sight, because that's kind of a bit of a fickle thing, isn't it? I certainly think that it developed pretty quickly, because I was getting to a point where, I don't know, I was doing U-turns in the car because I didn't want to go home.
Turning back up on my doorstep when I thought he'd gone.
For the first time we proper met, we were out in shopping centre.
And yeah, we just went on our own.
Then we were on our own, and then the next time we met after that was with all of your housemates and boyfriends, and that was quite an interesting group of people.
Yeah, it's probably a bit scary for you.
I first met Ben at a pub. I think he picked us up at our house, and then we went to a local country pub, and it was me, Jenny, the other bridesmaid, and Nicola, and our other housemate Luke, and I think we just interrogated him for the evening.
Yeah, it was just me and like 6 other people in a pub.
Him on one side, us all on the other side.
But they were really nice, and I don't know, I just got on really well with them.
I think our first kiss was probably at my house, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably that night.
Yeah, when I think it was like your second interrogation by my friends, wasn't it?
The goodbye kiss, the trademark "do I, don't I." Yeah, It's definitely the pub night.
Yeah.
When did you first? You must have met my friends through, I don't know, gigs again.
Yeah. So I met your band first. So when we were in Reading.
Oh yeah, I was in a band in Reading, and you met those guys.
Yeah, and we used to hang out with them quite a lot. And then yeah, just kind of as the weeks went by, I think I gradually met everybody, and
yeah, it wasn't kind of like kind of those American sitcoms you see where people turn up to a party and everyone's met at the same time. I think it was dribs and drabs again.
Yeah.
The first time I met Nick, I thought that she was bubbly. She had good taste in clothes. She was into Ben's sort of music as well, so I think they really clicked both together. And also she had a tendency to lean towards chocolate cake as well. We found chocolate cake in the fridge in the flat. So I knew that she was a bit of a foodie as well, and that's always a good thing. So yeah, she seemed really nice.
She was quite a character in comparison to previous girls that my brother had been with before. Had a lot more personality. Just seemed there was an obvious chemistry between the two of them, which was great. Good to see.
I actually can't remember who I met first, whether or not it was your dad or your mum.
It was my mum, because I was living with my mum at the time.
So yeah, it was your mum, and she lived in Bramley.
Yeah.
I loved him. I loved him. He's just the most amazing character, lovely personality, and really clicked with him right away. A pleasure. I didn't know he was going to be a son-in-law, of course, when I first met him, but really did like him. And more important, in some ways, my son liked him. He's not like many of Nicola's boyfriends in the past, but he really clicked with Ben, which was a good sign.
And it was probably only like, what, 3 or 4 months, really, after things started to get a bit serious.
Yeah, you were quite addictive.
Yeah, I think it's too difficult really to pin down exactly, when
the moment was.
Yeah, it wasn't just like a bang and we were in love. It just kind of just gradually happened, and yeah, the next thing you know, you're so in love. It's just like, what do I do now? It just gets, it's just such an intense feeling, and yeah, I just couldn't imagine not being in love with you now.
Good.
Yeah, they're a really well-suited couple. Everything about them, from the tattoos to the dogs to everything, yeah, definitely a really well-suited couple.
Really well suited. Different sort of characters, but they say opposites attract. But there's enough. Ben's very easygoing, very sort of laid back, and they seem to bounce off one another. They have a wonderful sense of humour, the two of them, and they have a wonderful rapport.
I'd never really understood why people wanted to get married, and as kind of time went on, I started to really get into the idea of being married to someone. The thought of being somebody's missus was really nice.
A lot of people, I think, when they think about what marriage means, is they tend to think of the kind of the ring, the house, the children, and things like that. But when you live with someone for long enough, admittedly, you don't live with each other that long, but long enough to share kind of every lump and bump of the day, and all the emotions and all the ups and downs, that you kind of, that person becomes such an integral part of your life and your day, that it kind of, I don't know, I guess marriage means wanting,
I think it's at the point where you realise you just couldn't live without them. I think that's when you know.
Yeah, or rather wouldn't want to.
I think we'd known each other for about 2 years before you'd asked me to marry you, and we'd been living together for about 1.5 years, hadn't we? So
yeah, I proposed when we were in Mexico. Not perhaps as glamorous proposal as most people. I'd had it planned what I wanted to do, and it was kind of there, just with added inebriation. The night that I proposed, we actually took a picture before we went out, and I was wearing some cream trousers, and you can see in the pocket there's a square shape,
box shape
of the ring.
Yeah, I was completely oblivious. I didn't have a clue.
And I was petrified, and we went out, because the place we were staying was an all-inclusive 5-star or whatever, and it was amazing, and would only have ever gone there through work. I would never have been able to afford it myself. But we went to one of the restaurants, and there was was it Mexican?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we ate and we drank and we had a really, really good night, and we went back to the hotel room, and we were both pretty kind of tired, although I had my master plan. Turned around for a couple of seconds and she was in bed, just going off to sleep.
I was tired.
And I had to find, it was just surely only the wine that managed to get you out of bed, because logic would have said, let's just stay in bed.
I know, you suggested a walk, so I kind of freshened my head a bit before I went to sleep.
Yeah.
And yeah, after about half an hour of trying to persuade me, I was just like, okay, I'll go.
So we went for a walk, and there was all the paths there were marble, and it was this white kind of circular area, and it had these kind of pillars, and it was right on the beach. So it was a really nice place, and it was warm, and it was really well lit, and it was just really nice.
Before he went, he took me apart from Nicola and said that he'd like to marry her, and was I okay with it? So, which of course he did with her father as well. And he bought her ring, and it was all very exciting. And I don't know whether Nicola knew or not.
I'd been looking out to sea, and I then turned around to see Ben on one knee, and it was the last thing.
You did say to me, you said, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could spend the rest of our lives together? And I
gave
went,
you the perfect opener.
and I went, well, it's funny you should say that. And she, judging by the language that came out a couple of seconds later, I don't think she definitely wasn't expecting it.
I had a lovely phone call from her saying that Ben had asked her, and I said, what did you say? She said yes. So it was great news.
Well, Ben had actually told me that he was going to propose to Nick, and I've got a huge mouth. I'm terrible at keeping secrets. And I actually texted her when she was on holiday to say, anything to tell me? How's the holiday going? And because I knew that he was going to propose, and then a couple of days later she texted to say that he'd proposed. So I did actually know already before he'd asked her.
I think it was a natural progression, really, of their relationship, and I was absolutely delighted. I couldn't wish for a better son-in-law.
It turned out that everybody knew it was going to happen. I was the only person that didn't know how some of my friends managed to keep it a secret. Is beyond me.
And I remember speaking to your dad to get his approval, and I was petrified, and obviously didn't want to let Nick know, but it was important for me to ask him that, because I'd had a bit of a financially shady past through always wanting to work in certain industries that weren't very well paid, which is why I ended up moving into sales. So I wanted to just kind of prove that I wasn't a bad egg by getting his permission.
Going the traditional route for that.
Yeah, I think he appreciated it. I think it was definitely one of my finer moments.
I think it was expected. I was happy because I knew that for the first time Ben had actually settled, and he had met his soulmate as well. And because they have got so much in common as well, I just knew that it would work and that they would be truly happy together.
Typical bride-to-be. You know, I instantly became obsessed with planning the wedding as soon as I'd been asked. And initially we kind of thought to go for 2 years to the date of when we got engaged.
Yeah.
And once we started thinking about it, we actually thought, because it was kind of April time, we thought, well, why not just push it forward a bit? Because I had this image of leaves on the trees, and of course in April it's a bit hit and miss. So we ended up picking the first bank holiday in May. And it was also good then because it meant for people that are travelling, they had an extra day. So it meant that people could kind of stay around a bit longer, enjoy the area. And
I think for me I didn't really have an ideal kind of day or date in mind. I think it was more about what I could afford and when I could afford it. So
yeah, I mean that's why we picked a date 2 years in advance, just to give us enough comfort around saving up for it. We didn't,
because we just bought a house, and it's quite a, you have to let your bank balances become acclimatised to paying a mortgage, and I think it made sense. And if I was to look back at when we got married and have a think about whether or not I would do that same kind of sort of time scale again, I'd say absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So we got married in the Tithe Barn, which is in Petersfield, and I think it's 14th or 16th century.
Yeah, it's a barn, yeah.
And
was,
yeah, it's just a big converted barn. And the requirements for our venue, really, when we were looking, was that Ben really wanted to get married in a church, and I wasn't.
I don't know if it was a church I wanted to get married in. I think
you
it was,
had an image of what
I had
a
a
wedding
very,
should be like.
I had that kind of textbook image of what, you know, all the cliches of what a wedding is. You know, top hat, tails, and generally just the whole cliche image. Nicola kind of made me question whether or not it was a church that I wanted to get married in, and the more I thought about it, I actually thought to myself, well, actually, no, it's more. And you gave me a couple of ideas and showed me a couple of places, and I saw this barn, and just like when we first saw our house, it was the first house we looked at, and we knew straight away it was the house that we wanted. This was the first venue that I looked at.
It was the only venue we looked at.
Well, yeah, it was the first and the only, admittedly, but it was just amazing. I just loved it straight away.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'd looked for venues that kind of fit both of our requirements, and by going for a barn, it was just kind of like a church, but without the stained glass windows.
And it was
looked
the most amazing place as well.
The building's a really old building, it's beautiful, and inside it has all the arches in the same way that a church does. So it's a really beautiful building. It was set up beautifully. Nick had obviously done quite a lot of decorations herself, and then inside they had all the churches and the lighting was amazing.
They only provided the space. They didn't provide anything else. They just provided the room.
Yeah, they didn't try and.
So it meant that we had freedom with all our suppliers, which, you know, was perfect because, you know, whilst we had quite a decent budget, we were still on a budget. So without being tied to a certain photographer or a certain caterer, it meant we could actually just pick things that suited us. And it was pretty much from there. Once we'd booked the venue, you know, everything else just kind of had to happen. So, you know, we had to book the registrar and the photographer, and we kind of got the most important things done. When it came to shopping for my wedding dress, I didn't really know what to expect going into shops. I had a slightly difficult start to looking for a wedding dress because my mum didn't know that I had any tattoos. So I booked a fitting at a shop, and I called up my mum and I was really excited, and then I hung up and I could hear the disappointment in her voice because I hadn't invited her. And I spoke to Ben. I was like, Ben, what do I do? You know, I've had tattoos for like 5 years and I've never told her. I lived with her as well, and she didn't know.
And you were wearing jumpers, thick jumpers, in some of the hottest summers we've ever had, and she'd be in the garden wearing a jumper, and it didn't arise suspicion at all. I don't know how you managed to get away with that.
But yeah, so I talked things through with Ben, and you know, my dad had found out already, so my dad knew, but my mum didn't know. And he was like, you know, if you don't tell her, I'll tell her. I was like, okay, I'll just do it. So I called her up, and I was like, Mum, I've got something to tell you. She was like, you're not pregnant, are you? I was like, no, Mum, I've got tattoos. She was like, oh, that's fine. Thank God. And I was like, and will you come to look for dresses for me? And of course, you know, she was over the moon, and she explained that she was a bit put out the fact that I hadn't invited her the first time. I found the whole process really strange, you know, going into a shop with all these dresses hanging up, and, you know, these women who know everything there is to know about wedding dresses. And I think you can get really different experiences in bridal shops. You know, you can get the places that are open to your suggestions, and you get some places where they just want to put you in things like, it's like dress up, I think. And the first shop we went into, I think my appearance put them off. So when they saw my tattoos, I think they just assumed that I didn't have any money. And, you know, you'd let me have a pretty reasonable budget for my dress.
Well, I don't think I knew about it until you paid for it.
But yeah, the first shop directed me to the sale rail, and it's just, you know, it was just quite rude, really. I just didn't think that was appropriate. So, you know, onwards and upwards from there.
We went to several in various places around the south of England, and each one she tried on, yes, she looked beautiful in, but I could see in her eyes that it wasn't special.
I kind of narrowed down that I wanted something plain, But when I was wearing all these big gowns, I just didn't feel like me at all. And then I'd gone to a local shop and they just had a new dress in that nobody else had tried on, and it was knee length. And I was like, oh, go on then, I'll try it on. And I came out of the changing room and I stood in front of the mirror, and, you know, my mum was like, oh, and I was like, oh. And there was a group of girls outside the window, and they were back and they were, that's the one. And ironically, it wasn't the one, but it kind of opened my eyes to something that I'd not thought about before, because all the shops, you know, they had these floor-length, strapless, kind of big gowns, and this one was strapless, but it was knee-length and really poofy, which I really liked. So after I'd been there, it started kind of a search to find out where I could get 50s-inspired wedding dresses. And somebody suggested to me to go and see Candy Anthony in London. The difference with the shop was they actually asked me what I wanted and what kind of day we were having. And, you know, they tried to fit a dress around my requirements. And, you know, one of them was, I want to be able to run around with the dogs. I want to be able to pick up the dogs without them, you know, snagging something. I just wanted a carefree dress that was plain. And so, you know, the assistant went off and she rummaged through some shelves and she came back with a couple of dresses, and she put me in a really plain ivory dress with an ivory bow around the middle. And then she asked me what colour petticoat I wanted. I was like, oh, I don't know, pink. And so she brought out a pink petticoat and I tried it on. I was like, this is pretty good. And then I tried on 4 more other dresses. I was like, can I try the first one on again? So I went back to the first dress, and I probably spent about half an hour in the shop just kind of flouncing around, spinning around, and it just gut feeling. You know, when I looked in the mirror, I was looking at me. I wasn't looking at me in a dress that wasn't me.
It was exactly the right choice, and it was exactly Nicola. It was that beautiful, almost traditional, but not quite traditional, but with just a hint of excitement about it, which is just so Nicola. It was lovely.
The shoes and you know, the veil, etc., was kind of topped it off.
Yeah.
And it was a really 1940s feel to the dress, really Rockefeller chic. And the fact that she had this gorgeous dress on, very corseted bodice top as well to it, with her tattoos showing and her hair done up and the netting over her face and everything. She looked absolutely amazing, yeah. And a pink underskirt as well underneath. Yeah. Just absolutely stunning dress, and she wore it really, really well.
I think I bought 4 pairs of shoes.
How many pairs do we still have upstairs?
And ironically, on the day, I wore my shoes for the ceremony only. And then for a couple of photos, they absolutely tore my feet apart. Even though I'd worn them in, so I actually spent most of the wedding day in my trainers. But again, I'm more of a trainer person than I am a big kind of ivory satin shoe heel-y type person.
That's why most of the pictures have got you with trainers on.
Yeah. And then for my veil and my jewellery, it was a bit of a DIY effort. So my mum makes jewellery for a living, and she asked me what I wanted. I said, you know, pearls, sparkly. And then with that, she went away and she made me a pearl and crystal necklace and a matching bracelet, which she attached my something borrowed to. And my veil, I didn't want kind of a veil that somebody would lift up. I didn't really understand that in, you know, the kind of the tradition sense.
Just had a half face.
And also with the kind of, because the dress kind of went out at the bottom, I didn't want to be like 2 triangles on top of each other. I didn't want to have a veil, triangle, skirt, triangle. So I ended up going for a birdcage veil, which is just kind of like a little bit of netting over the front. And when I started looking at how much people wanted for them, I was appalled. So I ended up buying a headband which already had a flower on it for 98p, went to a haberdasher's, bought some netting which was £1.50 a metre, sewing the 2 together. So my veil cost like £1.50, which was a bargain. And then, because I didn't want to wear the veil all day, I bought a separate headband with a flower on, and I just didn't sew anything to it. So after the ceremony was over, off came the headband with a veil stitched to it, on went just the plain headband. So yeah, that was definitely the bargain piece of the outfit. So I mean, the dress was nearly £1,500, but my veil was only £1.50.
Not exactly a budget bride then.
No, but part of it was.
Yeah. When it came to picking my suit. I remember when I was very young, I remember thinking about I don't know.
It was your uncle's wedding, wasn't
I think it was my uncle's wedding. I just remember having this image or memory of a very kind of top hat tails, kind of almost Beatles-esque suits type of wedding, and I remember thinking, so that's what I want. Having moved to Winchester, there was a local suit shop that are also based up in London, and I walked past the window and I literally just went, that's the suit, and it was just amazing. It was just fantastic.
It was perfect, really, wasn't it?
And I remember going in there, and once again, I was adorned in tattoos, and certainly, there's a bit of a perception of what type of people have these things, and surely not the sort of people that spend that sort of money on a suit. And I went in there, and they were very helpful, and I thought about what type I wanted, and did I want tails, did I want a top hat, and a nice three-piece suit was ultimately wanted, because you can take the jacket off and you still look like the groom. And for the best man and the groomsmen and the ushers, they all wore dark suits, white shirts, and we gave them special ties that we'd bought in keeping with the theme. I think it was pink with white polka dots.
So our wedding rings, we knew that we both wanted platinum just because it's long, hard wearing, shiny, silver. And I'd had white gold before, and I know that after a while it starts to tarnish.
Yeah.
And we looked around a few high street stores, and frankly, we were gobsmacked at the prices that people wanted. And on TV, my dad had seen a company on a certain show, and we had a look at their website, and their prices were much, much more reasonable than they were on the high street. They were basically like 2/3 off.
I know that you were quite specific about what you wanted, along the lines of lots of diamonds.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be really, really sparkly, and so yeah, I got a full diamond eternity band. On the day of our wedding, there was obviously a lot of excitement, but I think there was also just an element of kind of nervousness and worry. I mean, I was, really irrational thoughts. Am I going to slip as I walk down the aisle? Is Ben going to be there? Am I going to fluff up my vows?
We never really. I've never thought, either before or after. I never ever thought to myself, is this right? Is there going to be any drama on the day? Am I going to suddenly think, oh, I shouldn't be getting married or anything like that? I never ever thought that at all.
No.
So on the day, I guess my nervousness was just making sure everything was going to be right.
If you're a groomsman or best man, I'm sure they all say exactly the same thing. At the end of the day, you end up running around to make sure that the bride and groom have the best possible day. Absolutely. And he did it for me on mine, because ours was only a couple of years before theirs. So I was absolutely going to make sure that there was nothing he had to worry about.
You get to a point and you just like, there's nothing more I can do.
Ben had told Nicola that she was not to get involved. She had to give up her hold on the controlling thing. However, he came with 2 A4 sheets of paper with instructions of what he had to do to set up the venue, and we just went to make sure that everything got set up properly.
I remember lying in bed and I was sharing a room with my bridesmaids, and I wasn't sure if they were awake yet, so I was just kind of really quiet, and then one of them piped over like, "Are you awake?" I was like, "Yes, I'm awake."
The night before, we'd stayed in the hotel room with Nicola, Jenny and I, and got ready. It was really lovely, had all sort of champagne and got ready all together.
We went down for breakfast, and we were staying in a quite a small hotel. There, I think there were 11 bedrooms, so really personal service. Had an amazing fry up, which is definitely a way to start a wedding day. Lots of people told me that you have to eat, and I didn't want to end up, just having like a piece of toast. I was like, I wanted a meal. So yeah, had a full English breakfast.
Yeah, I remember it was my brother came in and woke me up, because we'd had a few drinks the night before, and I'd written my speech the night before. Well, finished it off the night before, my brother and the best man and my parents and various people all went over to the venue. And Nicola, I said to Nicola that she'd done so much planning before that the day she wasn't going to be didn't want her to be at the venue. I wanted her day to be hers. So I was ferrying around bits and pieces and the napkins and just setting the venue up, and it got to a point where I'd done everything I needed to do, and I knew that you'd had breakfast and that you were starting to get ready. And then I went back to the hotel that we were staying at and had a glass of Dutch courage.
Some scampi fries.
Some scampi fries and some champagne out of plastic cups. And just really got as relaxed as possible. I only really had a couple of hours before I had to be there, and all the family started to arrive and work friends, and it started to get really, really exciting.
Because we didn't get married till 3:30 in the afternoon, it meant that I had pretty much the whole day to myself. So, it was just a really relaxed morning. We just kind of lounged around in our dressing gowns and didn't really have anything to rush about. I texted Ben a couple of times, although I don't think is that allowed? I'm not sure, but I didn't speak to you. I just wanted to make sure that
things were in the right
getting
places.
Done. Typical Bridezilla. I couldn't leave it just to chance. And I probably didn't really start getting ready probably till about 11 o'clock. Got in the shower and just gradually did things. We ordered room service for lunch, and they didn't do room service, but I was like, please. And they're like, well, what do you want? I was like, some sandwiches and some crisps. So these two ladies knocked on the door with like big jugs of water and orange juice and a massive platter of sandwiches. And we just sat around a coffee table on the floor eating our lunch. And it was kind of, as I was eating my lunch, I kind of realised that once I finished lunch, that was it, really. I really actually had to start getting ready. And I decided to do my makeup and my hair myself just because the prices to get them done professionally were really expensive. And I had a hair trial, and it was
hideously wrong.
It was a disaster. They didn't get what I was going for. They gave me this princess look thing, and I just wanted really simple hair that, again, was just kind of a reflection of who I am. I'm not really the kind of person who spends hours in the morning getting ready. I'd rather sleep. Next thing I knew, it was like 3 o'clock and we had to be getting in the car to leave. I asked for just a few moments on my own, so everybody left the room. So just those few extra minutes just kind of compose my thoughts and, give myself a talking to, let's do it kind of thing.
The coach with people coming from where we were staying was supposed to arrive at the venue before Nicola did, of course. And Nicola, it would appear, was going to be arriving much earlier than them.
We ended up having to do several loops of various villages. And there were two guys sitting outside a pub who must have thought they'd had far too much to drink, because we kept driving past them and they kept kind of looking like, there's a bride in her car. But she keeps coming past. And they must have been able to see, because they were sitting opposite a church. So, we weren't getting married in that church because there was nobody else there. When I arrived at the venue, I was kind of ushered in a small back door into a little room where the dogs were, it was really nice to see them. We'd only been apart like a day, but they had little matching harnesses on to match our wedding colours, and they were really excited to see me, which was it was nice.
The guests are starting to arrive, and seeing everyone, and I mean that bit seemed to drag slightly because I was kind of really, really excited and apprehensive. Yeah. And I was kind of hoping that everything would just hurry up and then just you would arrive and then I could be put out of my misery.
Although I'd done the mother of the bride thing, gone to all the endless shops, trying on endless dresses, it's something very special when you see it all put together and how absolutely beautiful she looked. And that, I think, for any mother or father is a very special moment.
When I was standing down the end and everyone was sitting down and it all gone a little bit quiet, and I was looking behind me and seeing Roland and Alex and your brother.
Yeah, I think it went quiet because people knew I was standing outside, so the people at the back could see me before the music started.
And then the music started and I turned around and I was just like pinching the inside of my hand, trying not to cry. But I think I was like, I had like massive smile on my face more than anything.
Yeah, I don't
think it was like
the day after we had such jaw ache because we smiled all day.
Yeah.
I remember speaking to a couple of people before we got married, and I wasn't that worried that I was going to cry, but I was worried that I might, and I really didn't want to cry. I didn't want to be blubbing by the point I got to the end. And somebody said to me, just don't look at people as you walk down. So as I walked on, I clocked a guy that I work with, and he smiled at me, and I was like, right, not going to look at anyone else. So just blinkered eyes all the way to the front, and obviously saw Ben, beaming smile, and
off we went.
And yeah, off we went.
It was a beautiful service, for a civil ceremony as well, because when you think of weddings, you think of churches and stuff like that, but the whole atmosphere within that barn, and just the way that everyone was it's anticipation, and everyone was just waiting for her to turn up. And when she did turn up, there was gasps. Some people were, oh my God, she looks absolutely amazing. And it was just everything from the fairy lights on the trees to, even the lighting it was absolutely beautiful. It was like you were walking out, you were outside the barn, and it was like a fresh summer's day. And when you walked inside, it was dark, and the atmosphere and all the fairy lights, and it was a completely different setting. And I think that added to it as well. I think their first kiss after they got married was, I don't know, I think it was quite romantic. You did feel a little bit of like, because it's just tender, and they just...
It was cute.
Yeah.
Kind of that moment. For those that have got married, it kind of takes you back to your own day, doesn't it?
Do you go for the quick peck? Do you go for a full-on kiss, or do you go for a happy medium? We went for the happy medium. We didn't want people to be like kind of averting their eyes.
Yeah, have to put a 15 rating on it or anything.
But yeah, it was really good. Followed by a sigh of relief, after you'd got that bit out of the way, because there was so much. We'd written our own vows, and so it was quite a tense moment because neither of us really wanted to fluff them up.
Yeah.
And it was a massive commitment to be making. You can't just kind of be all blasé about marriage. We had just gone through a massive thing. So yeah, at that moment where we were allowed to kiss each other, it's just kind of this is it, rest of our lives.
Yeah, it's like someone
Let's
saying,
go.
It's like someone saying, right, that's the parts where you can fluff it up. Done.
Yeah.
Now go and have a marriage.
Go and relax. Yeah.
So we had the ceremony, got everybody back out, and then all of my brother's friends, all of his bandmates and mates from school and his past helped me, got all the tables, cleared all the chairs, and then turned it into obviously the dining sort of area. So we had the meal, fantastic meal, really well laid on. Everything was prompt, went according to plan as you expect. Then the speeches, some great speeches, some hilarious speeches. My brother's very good at
he's a good public speaker. He's very, very good.
Yeah, he kind of does things off the cuff, but he's just got I hate him for it, but he's just got a naturally funny side to him.
I wrote my speech the night before, pretty much. I knew that you had to talk about the people that had helped and thank the parents, and I thank my parents who were just amazing, and Nick's parents who were absolutely fantastic, and did all of that, and made sure that it was all there and ready and folded up and in my jacket. And I had no idea what, because I asked my brother to do a speech as well. I had no idea what his speech was going to be like, and I had no idea what my best man's speech is going to be like. Although I know that if there's anyone on this planet that has more embarrassing stories about me, it's got to be my best man and my brother. So I knew that between the two of them, I was gonna get it pretty badly.
Ben's brother's speech was hilarious. It was a really good speech. He was basically setting up to sort of say things that he'd done wrong, and basically been a role model for Ben for them to then do it wrong as well. And then he basically said that he'd obviously got married and that Ben had met someone wonderful, and that he'd obviously got something right, which is really nice. So yeah, it was a lovely speech.
I really like cake, so the wedding cake was a big deal for me. But at the same time, I knew that I didn't want to spend a fortune on cake, because it's just cake at the end of the day. I really like cupcakes. Really like cupcakes. Possibly borderline obsessed with cupcakes.
Enough to get one tattooed on your body.
Enough to get a couple of cupcake tattoos. And it just so happened that a high street store brought out a new range of cupcakes, and they were on offer.
Yeah. So we went in there and bought 30 boxes.
Yeah, 30 boxes of cupcakes we bought.
Yeah.
Over a kind of a week, the week before the wedding, we bought them, and they were holding them back for us. And so yeah, it was it was just perfect in the end. They were just the kind of cupcakes with the swirly icing on the top that I wanted.
And I wanted to.
So yeah, your grandpa wanted you to.
My granddad wanted us to cut the cake with his sword, but it was a ceremonial sword given to him
By royalty.
And we got to cut the cake with it, which was nice. That's why we had 2 cakes.
So yeah, we had a fruit cake, and then on the top of our cupcake tower, we had a little cake.
Little round Smartie cake with 2 Lego
bride and
groom on it, which was pretty fun to try and get to stick on a cake. Our first dance was probably the most awkward part of the day, I believe, because neither of us can dance.
I don't know. I did go to a dancing school for many, many years, but you know, I think if we could have got away without having one, we would have done. But Ben's mum said that at weddings people wait. You know, people don't start dancing until the first dance. You know, and there were a lot of old school people at our wedding, so. We did cave on this one thing, and we decided we'd have a
nice.
first dance.
It was a nice song.
Things just started to suddenly. Time just started to disappear so quickly.
It did kind of wind down. It didn't wind down, but it was a good time to finish.
You know, the coach arrived to pick up most of the guests, I think, at 11:45, and then, you know, next thing you know, the venue's empty, and it was just kind of us, and there was lots of commotion going on around us, and people were packing things away because you have to be out of the venue that night.
It was a great day, finished off really, really well, and then we managed to get sort of everybody out of there and a few stragglers as well.
The day after the wedding, I think, was a day again for family.
We had breakfast first at the hotel, which is very nice, and we packed everything up and had a good full English there. And then we decided to head. After we packed everything up and loaded the car, and the car was already there, we head back over to where the rest of the guests were staying.
I think we all congregated down at the bar actually the day afterwards in the hotel just to see how everyone was, and you know, a lot of people were travelling on that day as well, so I think a lot of people went off. I think it was like a sort of goodbye to a lot of people as well.
It all went according to plan. Nicola had organised it like a military operation.
You go to a lot of weddings and you think, oh, it was a good wedding, but theirs was a good wedding.
We've been to a lot of weddings, and they've been very conventional white weddings, church weddings, long dress, long train. And it's refreshing actually to go to a wedding where it is a little bit more funky, a little bit more hip.
I think the best bit about our wedding was obviously the getting married bit. You know, that was really special. Reading our vows to each other, which we actually wrote together. It was really nice, and seeing Ben
friends and family, and just seeing you in your dress,
you
and
in your smart get up,
feeling the ring, and just looking at it, and I don't know. I just think the whole day was the best bit. Was the day,
yeah,
rather than the food. I mean, the food was amazing, and you know, there just wasn't one best bit. The day was the best bit for me. People kept telling me that it goes really quickly, you know, enjoy it because, you know, it'll fly by, and I was always like, yeah, okay, great, yeah, fine. But
it did.
It's 3 months later, and I could hand on heart say that it feels like it was 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Because I remember every detail of it, and it was a really, really special day.
Will they be happy ever after? That's a difficult question to ask because, of course, one absolutely hopes that they will. It's always been tough for couples, but I think there are a lot of pressures on young people these days. But I think that both of them support one another. I think that they're strong enough to get through any crisis, and I really do believe that it's forever.
Nicola and Ben will definitely be happy ever after, definitely. Because they're just so well suited. And I say, since they've been together, they have so many common interests, and they have so much fun together. They'll definitely be happy ever after.
I think they will be happy ever after. I say I think, I know they will be, because they are so well suited. They're kind, they're quirky, they're funky, they have so much in common, but they complement each other. And just as long as they both keep on the straight and narrow, and they're both content with what they have and the fact they have each other, I think they'll do just fine. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think any relationship requires a bit of work. You know, you have your good times, you have your bad times, and I think they've been together now long enough to know what needs to be done during the bad times as well as the good times. So, absolutely, I think they are going to be happy ever after. I do think they're so, yeah. Look forward to seeing what happens next.
I think we will live happily ever after. I think, you know, what's the point in not thinking that you will do? I think you need to set out like you mean to carry on.
We started well, so we'll see what the future holds.